Welcome back to Black Files Unlocked. Tonight, we're reacting to one of America's once strangest and most secretive societies, a hidden world where the powerful gather in the shadows. This is the story of Bohemian Grove. Now, many have heard about this story and wasn't your average summer retreat. We're talking about a 2,700-acre redwood forest tucked away in Monte Rio, California. On the surface, it looks like an exclusive campground, but for over a century, it's been the meeting ground for politicians, CEOs, artists, and some of the most influential figures in the world. The Grove is owned by the Bohemian Club, a private all-male club founded in San Francisco back in 1872. At first, it was a gathering place for journalists, actors, and musicians, free spirits who wanted an escape from city life. But as time went on, the membership shifted. Bankers, oil tycoons, military leaders, and U.S. presidents slowly took over. By the 20th century, the so-called Bohemians were less starving artists and more the elite of the elite. Bohemian Grove isn't just about rituals and secrecy. History shows it's also where real-world decisions have been sparked. In 1942, deep inside these woods, members of the Grove met as part of a group called S1, the committee overseeing what would become the Manhattan Project. Among them was J. Robert Oppenheimer, the brilliant physicist who would later be called the father of the atomic bomb. Here, discussions began that ultimately shaped one of the most devastating weapons in human history. The casual conversations between generals, scientists, and policymakers at the Grove helped set the stage for the bomb that ended World War II and changed global warfare forever. Decades later, Oppenheimer's role was immortalized in Christopher Nolan's 2023 film Oppenheimer. So what exactly happens there? Every July, for about 2 weeks, members and their carefully chosen guests gather in complete secrecy. They camp in rustic cabins, drink heavily, and attend elaborate ceremonies. Cameras are banned, media is locked out, and privacy is protected at all costs. Even workers hired to serve food are sworn to silence. The most infamous ritual is something called the cremation of care. Picture this. At nightfall, men in hooded robes march through the forest carrying torches. At the center of it all stands a towering 40-foot stone owl, the Grove's symbol. In front of it, they stage a dramatic ceremony where they burn an effigy in a coffin, symbolizing the death of care. It's supposed to mean they're leaving behind the burdens of the outside world, but to outsiders, it looks unsettlingly like a pagan sacrifice. That's where the eerie whispers began. Over the years, countless rumors have swirled around the Grove. Some say it's just powerful men blowing off steam with bad amateur theater. Others believe it's where major global decisions are quietly made, deals struck in the woods that shape the world without public oversight. There are even those who see the rituals as occult in nature, a kind of hidden worship practiced by the elite. Here's the thing, many American presidents have walked among those redwoods: Eisenhower, Nixon, Reagan, and the Bush family, just to name a few. Of course, secrecy breeds speculation, and for decades, the Grove has been shielded from public eyes. But every once in a while, footage slips out. Investigators, journalists, even conspiracy researchers have managed to capture glimpses of what really happens there. And that's where we turn next. I'm about to show you footage from Colin Brown's conspiracy files, managed to document Bohemian Grove closely as well as some others in the past. This isn't staged. This isn't a movie. This is real deal. So sit back, turn down the lights, and pay attention, because once you see this, you can't unsee it. Let's roll the tape.
Here's the first document we can talk about that I've gotten my hands on. This is a legitimate old flyer from the Bohemian Club. Here's what it reads. Bohemian George Bush, new director of the Central Intelligence Agency, will speak at a members-only luncheon at the club on Tuesday, April 27th at noon. His subject, the CIA, today and tomorrow. So the Bohemian Club, like we just talked about, they make this big thing about how there's no business, no government, no nothing happening at Bohemian Grove. Weaving spiders, come not here, or they don't want work being intermixed with this relaxation, the blowing off of steam. And yet you have right here a document that they don't want you to see that says that George H.W. Bush is going to be at the Bohemian Club speaking about the CIA. He's going to be telling these other Bohemians, these other people that are in high places in the government and in the business world and in the entertainment industry, he's going to be given a speech about the Central Intelligence Agency. Now, if you don't know what the CIA does, man, that is a long tangent. It involves assassinations, drug running child sex rings, and running pedophile rings. The CIA is one of the most crooked organizations to ever exist. And that's only the stuff we know that the CIA does. We don't even know a half of what the CIA actually is doing behind our backs. It's like the shadow CIA, the shadow government. So I thought this document was interesting, showing that George H.W. Bush was going to tell all of the Bohemians, the people he's supposedly not talking to government about and not sharing secrets with, a whole dissertation on the CIA while he is the director of the CIA. Keep that in mind. Bohemian Grove itself has a sinister reputation nowadays, and it has had that reputation for many years, as secret societies are apt to cultivate. The rumors mostly surround Bohemian Grove's Bohemian Grove event, which is supposedly essentially a frat party for the wealthy elite. Business Insider called it a way for rich men to relive their college days in a fluff piece. They said essentially it's a place where US politicians, military leaders, artists, and business magnates all meet up to let go of their worldly troubles and relive their early 20s with heavy drinking and partying. They report that the site hosts over 100 separate camps, all bearing strange names such as Mandalay, Lost Angels, Silverado Squatters, and Isle of Aves. That's right, when you get to Bohemian Grove, actually, here's a map. Let's put that up on the screen now. This is an original map from Bohemian Grove. It's very large. As you're looking on screen, this is a cartoony layout of the Grove itself. But you can see there are all these really bizarre, strange names of camps in here. And all this stuff is symbolic. All this stuff has meaning behind it. That's why it's so bizarre. Like, they didn't just pick out these names and say like, oh, we're just gonna name this Goofy Town and this is Stupidville. You know what I mean? Like, these names have some sort of symbolism or meaning. There's Sleepy Hollow, there's Pig and Whistle, Moonshiners, Roaring, the Rattlers. There are camps the Son of Toil, the Sons of Rest, Snog Harbor, Four Peak, Redfire, Five Easy Pieces, the Land of Happiness, Tarrytown, the Wayside Log. Some of these I don't even understand. There's also mystical stuff like Druids, Halcyon, Valhalla, Oz, Land's End, Lookout Mountain, Last Chance, Sun Dodgers. All these camps you could really get into and dive into exactly what they mean. But you can see, once again, if you look on screen, there's the entrance gate, and then this whole thing just kind of expands in the huge, massive reach. And only God knows exactly what the hell, how accurate this map is. I'm sure there are hidden things that they don't even publish on these maps that they don't want people knowing about that are here. Some of the other names on that map are things like Idlewild, Hillbillies, and the Hillbillies is the camp that the Bush family belongs to. Each camp at Bohemian Grove is organized by which artistic avocation each member subscribes to, so that like minds can camp in peace. If you're a singer, you'll be in a certain camp. If you're a musician or a painter, you'll be in a certain camp. If you're a politician, you'll be in a certain camp. They're all organized. At least that's what they tell us. And that's their explanation for those bizarre names. But yeah, they're out in the middle of the woods at Bohemian Grove, and that big ass owl is right behind them. And that owl is going to be the center point of a lot of controversy and conspiracy surrounding Bohemian Grove. I don't think you guys who don't know what Bohemian Grove is, pictures of Bohemian Grove are insanely hard to find because, like I just read to you, they don't allow any recording, any video. So even just getting a hold of these photographs of this band playing the Cremation of Care area and these people celebrating out there around a bonfire, those things are like supposed to not exist according to the club. They don't want that stuff getting out. So yeah, I know they're gonna love this video. The performances that they put on in that little area with the pond and the owl are made solely by men, with some sources stating that men occasionally play the parts traditionally played by women. Now, this is another point I'm going to talk about. Since nobody knows what happens at Bohemian Grove, and they've kept it very secret, I want to present to you this photograph. I don't know who the men are in this picture. This is an original photograph from Bohemian Grove that I got from somebody who was a very reputable source. I'm not going to expose the people I got these materials from. I've gone really deep in this investigation. But as you can see right here, these are all older looking men dressed up in what appears to be drag, wearing a dress, a skirt. They've all got makeup on. And when you consider that a lot of the men that are here at these events, like the men that are on this list right here of Bohemian Grove in 1998, including former presidents like the Bushes. There have been a lot of Republicans in Bohemian Grove, and I'm not making this video political at all. But it is interesting because a lot of these same politicians who on the outside, to the outside world, are saying that they don't like drag queens and they want to take down the pride flags, and they're really vocal about how much they hate that sort of culture. It's very interesting to me that there are photographs of those same men that are here participating in dressing in drag and, like I just said, performing the parts of women in plays. These are the same men that will say to major news outlets they think drag queens and drag shows should be shut down and drag queens should be arrested, and yet here they are at Bohemian Grove. Whether or not they're actually dressing up themselves in drag, that doesn't matter, because clearly when they're here at the Grove, they're laughing at this, they're enjoying it, and they are taking part in the whole thing. A disturbing rumor made only more strange as the participants in this performance or ritual wear dark robes and hoods. So I recently got a copy of Alex Jones's Bohemian Grove documentary. I brought it into a professional here in Houston, Texas, who transferred it for me. So we're going to be presenting you with some of the footage of the cremation of care that Alex Jones published decades ago. And you can see in the footage, it looks evil. They try to say that it's playful and lighthearted. No, it looks strictly evil. A different rumor surrounds the security detail of Bohemian Grove. You see, the club employs significant security contracted out by Sonoma County. Some have said that intruders are shot on sight and killed if they try to sneak in. Perhaps partly due to rumors, the Bohemian Club has faced a lot of backlash over the years. For example, women's rights activists and the Sonoma County government have considered pulling out of their security detail with the Bohemian Club, as women are not allowed to join the retreat in full, and some consider it supporting a misogynistic boys' club. You see, women are allowed to become honorary members of the Bohemian Club, and sometimes they're allowed to enter the clubhouse at Nob Hill, but entry into the Bohemian Grove after nightfall is strictly prohibited for women over time. Many people, though, have raised questions about the gathering over the years, such as why they conduct this effigy burning ritual, and why men wearing dark hooded cloaks conduct it. The fact that some have stated that these robes are reminiscent of the KKK has caused even greater concern. You see, while most people believe that this event is merely a frat party for the wealthy elite, others have taken a critical look at what goes on in the Redwoods by night. In the past, people have spread rumors of darker rituals than just an effigy burning, such as real human sacrifice, transporting a corpse across the pond near the effigy, massive orgies, and snuff films created during the sacrificial ritual. And you can't forget pedophilia. Journalists have tried to enter the gathering many times to find out the truth, but only Spy Magazine and conspiracy theorist Alex Jones seem to have been able to. Well, besides from the guy who I talked to for this video, who recently broke into Bohemian Grove and has been targeted by the Bohemian Club in the aftermath. So, back in the day, Alex Jones, before he had started down the path that he's been on, he was obsessed with exposing government corruption and conspiracies like Bohemian Grove. And initially, he called the article written on Bohemian Grove and published by Spy Magazine a shill, or rather a distraction meant to detract from the true and disturbing nature of the Bohemian Club. The article in question, written by Philip Weiss in November of 1989, begins by taking anecdotes from Henry Kissinger, former U.S. Secretary of State, who passed in late 2023. Also a piece of shit. He reported jazz concerts, bird watching, and rope tricks, but he also rattled off important names, like U.S. Treasury Secretary of the time Nick Brady, Los Angeles Times publisher Tom Johnson, and Shankar Bajpai, a former ambassador to the United States. He said they were all in attendance that year. The Grove also hosted Russian physicist Roald Sagdiyev, who had been a member of the Soviet Supreme Council of People's Deputies. The author of that article, Philip Weiss, also reported more important names that were in attendance, including the Prime Minister of France, the former Secretaries of State, the chairman of Archer Daniels Midland, Dwayne Andreas, Merv Griffin, and David Rockefeller. Weiss takes a very lighthearted look at the club's activities, stating, "The religion the attendees consecrate is right-wing, laissez-faire, and quintessentially Western, with some druid tree worship thrown in for fun. The often bizarre rites have elevated what was once a provincial club for San Franciscans embarrassed by the rude manners of the Wild West into the most exclusive club in the United States, with 2,300 members drawn from the whole of the American establishment and a waiting list 33 years long." Indeed,
speaking luxury and the defined, a lot of us Can't afford that kind of living. But here's how to on a budget. The cost of everything soaring, from flights and hotels to everyday dining, many people are skipping their dream trips, but you don't need to leave the US to enjoy the elegance and romance of Paris. Sonoma, California. Wine country elegance. Dreaming of French countryside wine tour at a fraction of the cost. No long flights required. Many luxury tours in Bordeaux or Burgundy run around $500 per person per day, including tastings, guided tours, and meals. In Sonoma, you get the same charm. Vineyards, elegance, for under $40 per tasting, and comfy inn stays for about $150 per night. That's more than 70% in savings. People visiting wine country typically splurge on tastings, vineyard tours, gourmet dining, and boutique accommodations. In France, you might pay heavily for the prestige. Here, you pay for the experience. Here's the budget hack. Skip big-name estates and head to smaller Sonoma gems. Some spots may waive your fee if you buy a bottle or use tasting passes. Hotels average $517 per night in town, though mid-range rooms can be found for $185, double occupancy. Guys, get these deals with Expedia. For our discounts, I'll put the link in the description. Save 10% or more on flights, car rentals, and hotels with member prices. Just sign up and watch your points add up like I did. It comes in handy. Budget hotels can be found for around $200, $300, while mid-range boutique inns go for $165, $279. Solo travelers report hotel rooms averaging $93 a night, with $185 a night typical for two. Airbnb stays are more expensive, around $450 a night for an entire home. Planning your U.S. route to Sonoma. Domestic flights to STS can be as low as $116 round trip, far less than international fares to France. A one-way flight might cost just $70. Prefer scenic routes? Trains from LA start around $82. From Stockton, only about $18 one way. Renting a car? Expect $40 to $80 per day for economy models, with optional insurance. Add gas, and you're still paying far less than a transatlantic ticket. All roads lead to stunning Sonoma without leaving your bank account in the negative. I'll be sure to put links in the description. Now, back to the show.
A watering hole for the important names of the party. According to Weiss, the Bohemian Club presidents formally summon the members to the Grove each summer with these words, quote, "Brother Bohemians, the sun is once again in the clutches of the lion, and the encircling season bids us to the forest, there to celebrate the awful mysteries. Bohemians come, find home again in the Grove, burn care and hurl his ashes, whirling, from our glade. Come out, Bohemians, come out and play. Come with all the buoyant, impetuous rush of youth." US presidents and business magnates getting invitations like that and actually going to it. I mean, that is just some weird shit. I've never been invited to a party that's like, "Brother Colin, please come attend our sun ritual worship event in the midst of the woods where we shall burn the corpse of our anger and toss it to the wind." Like, what the f? Anyways, that just made me go like, what the f? With that invitation's obvious reference to the sun being in the house of Leo according to astrology, perhaps the Bohemian Grove and the Bohemian Club is more openly into the metaphysical than Weiss, the author of that article, would like to admit. Now, Weiss states that he infiltrated the club with no great amount of difficulty and found a bunch of older men wrapped up in politics and the arts, but his first experience was the cremation of care ritual. Weiss says that he sat down next to a man who was confiding in a companion beside him. He told the companion that his friends didn't understand this, that if they could see it, they'd know how terrific it was. He said it was better than sex, that it's more than it's cracked up to be, and that you couldn't describe it. Moments later, the massive crowd that was gathered to witness the cremation of Care hushed, and Weiss describes that a column of hooded figures emerged, carrying torches, solemnly bearing a corpse down to the pond between the stage and the seating area. Naturally, Weiss says to clarify that this wasn't a real corpse, only a fake corpse meant to symbolize the dull cares that the men in power and wealth often face. But others believe that the body within the crypt may not have been an effigy at all. Some believe that at Bohemian Grove, a real human body is sacrificed to the massive stone owl, who one man claimed is none other than the ancient pagan god Moloch. And now we get into Alex Jones and the real exposing of Bohemian Grove. So, Alex Jones, joined by members of British television, infiltrated Bohemian Grove in July of 2000. Alex Jones has always claimed to be an activist for the people, wanting to expose the world government that is conspiring against them. A well-known conspiracy theorist, Alex Jones looked back through history to discuss the club's origins and their mysteries. One of the first things he discusses in the documentary is the massive 40-foot stone owl statue, which he and others claim represents the ancient pagan god Moloch. You see, according to the Bohemian Club, the owl is meant to symbolize wisdom and companionship. This seems like a great symbol for a club allegedly about camaraderie and a discussion of the arts. But could it be that this owl actually represents a god to which the ancient people would sacrifice children? More on that later on. Alex Jones in his documentary claimed that the men of the original Bohemian Club, all men of art and intellectualism, created the club to get away from the backwardness of the West Coast, which he claims meant Judeo-Christian ethics. Alex states that the annals of the Bohemian Club admit an obsession with the occult, as well as druidic rituals, some of which inspired the cremation of care ceremony. He also contends that many rich and powerful men in our government and military are members of this club. And I have proof of this. I will post this so everybody can read it. This is a 1998 list of the camps. Grove is a place where men of the Bohemian Club engage in bizarre ancient Canaanite Luciferian rituals. But who are these rich, powerful men, presidents, leaders of the CIA, billionaires? Who are they worshiping in these rituals at Bohemian Grove? Well, that's when we get to Moloch, the owl god, who people claim is represented by that 40-foot stone owl at the center of the grove. So, Alex himself did research on the figure of Moloch, which is mentioned many times in the Christian text of the Bible, and is in fact associated with human sacrifice. But not only human sacrifice, specifically the sacrificing of children by fire. Keep in mind, in Bohemian Grove's cremation of care that we've talked about many times, which they say is just a fun little play that they like to put on, they are burning the effigy of a child's body. And Moloch, the owl god, people used to sacrifice children to Moloch by burning them alive. Unable to conceive why these power brokers, high-ranking men in our government and finance sector would worship this figure, Alex decided to infiltrate Bohemian Grove and see what was actually happening. Upon arriving in Monterey, Alex Jones and his crew began to interview locals. The first person they met, after saying he worked in Bohemian Grove for a while, immediately began to walk away after being asked if he had witnessed the cremation of care ritual. Another resident said that he was driving by one of the outer camps of the grove and was stopped by Secret Service members. When the Secret Service approached his vehicle, they began interrogating the resident about his intentions, requesting his name and his address, and asking why he was so close to the campsite. Another resident of the town claimed that the men in the grove brought prostitutes into the woods with them, both female and male prostitutes. And many of the town's members had different stories about the FBI having infested the town at one point, but no one seemed to know anything about the actual rituals happening themselves. Finally, on July 15th, 2000, the time came to infiltrate Bohemian Grove itself. After sneaking into the main parking lot past the first set of security gates, Alex and a colleague began their trek into the event area. He states that he was questioned by security multiple times, and whenever confronted, he would simply say that he was with the Hillbillies, the group to which the Bush family belonged. And later on at dusk, Alex and his colleague witnessed the cremation of care ritual. So every year before this cremation of care ritual, they say it's a play, we all know it's a ritual. Before that begins, the members of the club attend a massive feast at the main dining area, and then afterwards they head to the lakeside. Alex Jones somehow obtained a program from the ritual, whose front page bears the massive stone owl before a pit of fire. Alex then points out what he calls a small demon on the cover of the program, named PJ. It appears to be a small stick figure with horns holding up a broom and dustpan, sweeping up something that needs to be thrown away. More disturbingly, in the fire that burns before the owl, there appears to be an illustrated burning human body. It isn't a grown human body, however, and it appears to the viewer, and it appears to me, to be the body of a child. The skull is large in comparison with the rest of the body, as are the hands, and indeed at first glance, it mimics the skeletal remains of a child. Now, why would politicians and businessmen, prominent figures, people that are running our world and our country, why would they take part in a ritual Even if it is a play, why would they take part in something whose programs are illustrated with small drawings of demons and the burning body of a small child? It's bizarre. Then, in his documentary, Alex shows the footage recovered of the cremation of care ritual, and it's as disturbing as it sounds. In the footage, men in dark robes that look like those worn by KKK members, are carried into the event area by a carriage and marched in a column before it. As the robed figures walk towards the altar before the stone owl, they carry torches with them to the tune of a bagpipe crying a funeral march. The club members then begin to clap. The bagpipes transform into solemn classical music, and this plays for approximately 10 minutes before the robed men close in on the altar. Alex Jones allegedly contacted occult experts, and they all reported that what he witnessed that night may truly have been a sacrificial ritual, according to all he was about to see and hear. So in the footage, the men in robes near the altar, and a bell is rang, and a speaker in white, the high priest, delivers the following words. And these are the words they say every single year. Quote, "The owl is in his leafy temple. Let all within the grove be reverent before him. Lift up your hands, O ye trees, and be ye lifted up, ye everlasting spires. For behold, here is Bohemia's shrine, and holy are the pillars of this house." A bell rings once more as the speaker bows to the spectators across the pond. He finishes his intonations with, "Weaving spiders come not here." The bell rings again, and he walks off stage. In the footage, the men in dark robes then approach the altar, and another voice rises above the crowd. The speech it gives is sown with strange phrases and references to friends who have passed on joining the crowd from beyond the grave. It mentions Babylon, one of the cities most steeped in occultism, and Tyre, a city that faced holy wrath for rebelling against God according to the Judeo-Christian texts. This voice goes on to mention spell work, possibly in metaphor. However, with so many true references to occultism, it can't be certain. This voice calls the event to which all of these powerful men are attending the ancient
Okay, so what you just saw is only a glimpse into Bohemian Grove. The question is, was it just powerful men putting on strange, questionable theater and dressing as women for fun? Or does it hint at something deeper, something we're not supposed to see? We may never know exactly what happened under those redwoods. What do you think really happened inside Bohemian Grove? Far away from the public eye. And when the world's most influential people gather in secret, wearing robes, chanting around a stone owl, well, it's fair to ask why. All right, guys, stay tuned for part 2 and make sure to check out Conspiracy Files. Make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and keep your eyes open because the next file we unlock may be even stranger. Until next time, later guys. Thanks for watching and we appreciate our subscribers.